Hello and welcome. My name is Derek Schreiner, and welcome to this reveal of my gamebook, Operation CanCon, the Canadian 80s Music Shopping Gamebook. It's the first in a trilogy of Operation CanCon books, but each of them stands alone. Now, this will be more of a reveal. It's a little bit like an unboxing without the box. It won't be how to play or a deeper dive. Those will be separate videos, as I will do for the other installments in the series. Okay, so let's take a look at the cover first. On the front, we have the name, Operation CanCon. It's the first in a series of 3 books. Each of the books can stand on its own, but this is the first one, and it deals primarily with the 80s, the decade in the 1980s, and the subtitle, Canadian 80s Music Shopping Gamebook by Derek Schreiner. We have a soft cover paperback here. It's published by me, self-published, in the year 2025, and it's got these white symbols on a red background superimposed over a picture of the Yonge Street Strip in Toronto during the 1980s, with black text listing the title and author names. In terms of number of pages, this particular book is 238 pages, and in terms of the gamebook section, the Choose Your Own Adventure sections, there are 102 of those. Now, in terms of dimensions, metrics, it's 14 by 22 centimeters, so 14 wide by 22 high, or in inches, that would be 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And in case you're wondering why there is this not for resale gray band across it, that's just because the copy that I have here is an author's proof copy, and the one that you get if you purchase it would not have that band across it. You would see the cover properly. Now, for the next thing that we'll see on the spine here, you can see the title of the book, Operation CanCon by Derek Schreiner. This proof printing just says Operation CanCon because when this was originally written, it was the only book that I knew of, being the first in the series. I didn't realize that there would necessarily be more. So printings after this one now say Operation CanCon 80s afterwards. And so the second one says Operation CanCon 90s, and the third one says Operation CanCon Classics. Now, in terms of what is on the back, we have the usual Lockdown Lewd Not logo in the top left corner, and all of the codes in the bottom right, and the rest of it is all a blurb. I'll just read this now. A mission to save the music and the future of a nation. Dive into the interactive world of Operation CanCon, where your mission is to collect Canadian content. Navigate 80s music stores in search of iconic songs. The hope of a country's future will depend on preserving its cultural artifacts. Using dice and a checklist, take your chances with the sweet minigame, a treasure hunt where every roll reveals another hit. It's not all random chance, however. Your decisions really matter. Choose which tracks to target, which stores to visit, and how long to search. How will you spend your limited time in Toronto? Whether you play a single game or a multi-day campaign, you'll discover opportunities for tactics and strategy. Advanced modes, tweaks, and New Game Plus provide even more challenges. Perfect for gamers, music lovers, and fans of Canadiana, Operation CanCon is a new take on nostalgia. With an interactive narrative, flexible gameplay, and customizable goals, it's more than a game, it's a retro celebration. Now, in terms of the design of the book, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. You may know, if you've looked into my previous book, Hikikomori, that I had some issues with the dimensions and how there was a mismatch that needed to be corrected with a PDF utility. Well, in this case with Operation CanCon, what I had to do was I had to make it a little bit smaller in both directions, or in both dimensions, I should say. And that is because Google and Amazon, who create the 2 templates that needed to talk to each other, only shared 2 sets of dimensions in common, and those were 8 by 10 or 5.5 by 8.5. So I took 5.5 by 8.5, since that was the closest thing to a standard paperback size, which are often 6 by 9. I'm really happy with the cover imagery and the way that everything turned out, with the images that I found and the images that I created myself. Let me know what you think of this. I don't know. I look at it and I know what it's meant to be, but I still sometimes kind of imagine, it's a ghost riding a scooter, or maybe a bird playing golf, something like that. Let me know what you think. And let me know if you want to know anything else about the book, or any books, basically. The process of sort of designing the game, developing it, writing the text, laying it out, designing the cover, the publishing process, anything like that. Just let me know, and I'll be glad to sort of address that either directly or at a future video. Now let's take a look inside. So the first thing that we have is the frontispiece and some credits. And then we have the list of contents here. You'll notice that we have no page numbers beside the content. The contents are complete and they do appear in this order, but the reason we don't have page numbers is, as you may be aware from other game books, when you have page numbers and you have something like, choose your adventure style section that has section numbers, it can sometimes be confusing when you say things like, if you make choice number 1, go to page 50, and you don't know if that means go to page 50 or go to section 50. So by eliminating the page numbers, which are less important in a choose your own adventure book, then it eliminates the confusion, hopefully. So the first thing we have is the introduction, which is sort of a general overview and some background as to how and why this was written. The overview of the game itself, which just sort of gives you a very general idea of what to expect in the game. In the prologue, you learn the basic rules for a mini-game called Sweep. This is roughly analogous to the game Ino, or Ino, or Inno, or however you pronounce it, in Hikikomori. Once you learn the basic rules to the game Sweep, you understand how the majority of the game works. Aside from a story narrative perspective, from a gameplay mechanics perspective, you'll be able to go through the entire game once you know the Sweep rules. And it will show you what components you need, a general description of the game, go through the basic rules. It will seem like there's a number of them, but they're broken down into tiny little atomic parts, basically. So once you understand them, it's really quite simple, and there's an example which is shown as a diagram. Then we have one entry that says Operation CanCon, and it may seem like, oh, this is just one entry among, dozens of entries, but this is actually the single largest section of the book. This is where the majority of the story and the sort of choose your own aspect happens, where you play the game and read the story. Now, following that, it doesn't mean that the story is over. It just means that you finish playing one game. There's a section called Interlude, which shows you campaign considerations and explains concepts like rogue points and can karma effects, which are ways that you can change future games based on your progress in past games. And then there's a section called Epilogue, which means what happens when you finish a complete campaign. What can you do in future to change the game and add variety, add difficulty, or if you find it too difficult, how to make it easier on yourself. And it lists all kinds of general tweaks, minor tweaks, campaign tweaks, and major game changers that actually change it into something else entirely, if you like that. There's also a section with glossary, terms, appendices for sheets that we'll look at shortly, checklisted artists, songs, scavenger hunt, which is a little mini game, deeds, which are sort of like achievements or trophies, and then about the author. So here's the introduction and the overview, the basic rules, an example, which has a bit of a diagram here to show you what that example looks like. And then we get into this section here that I've marked with a little tag just to remind myself. This is the section where you play the sort of variable path or choose your own adventure, whatever you want to call it, where you read a section and then it tells you where to go to next. Continue to 1, or if you would go to section 9, or if you make a certain choice, go to 16 or go to 20 or whatever the number is, right? Now, In terms of the structure of this game, you will spend roughly the first 10 sections just getting some story background that helps to give you motivation for why you're playing this story, why you're sort of being set up to play this game, essentially. If you would prefer to just play the game directly, you can still do so on a sheet of paper. I'll explain that in a separate how to play video, or you could just jump straight to, in this case, section 11 is the first one where you start playing the game proper. Now, like I said earlier, there are about 102 sections, and so I'll flip forward a little bit and I'll go to the next section here, which is the interlude that I mentioned before. And this shows you things that you can do in between games to earn experience. So you earn what are called rogue points, and these help you to purchase canned karma effects. So canned karma effects are a little bit like on subsequent games, what can your experience help you to do? Can they help you to modify the rules somewhat? So through experience, you become better. Or alternately, you can make the game tougher if you want more of a challenge. It's entirely up to you. Then in the epilogue section, there are advanced variations, and some games refer to this as New Game Plus, and these are ways that when you play the game again, you can make quite significant modifications. So there's a lot of that. Then there's a glossary section, which has various terms. Anything that you see in the book that has boldface on the type, that means that you can look it up in the glossary and there will be an explanation, a more in-depth definition for that item. And then after that, we get to the appendices. And in the appendices, we have various different things. And there's a sort of sub-contents listing with a store grid, checklist, default, blank, single page, double page, triple constraint grid. All of this stuff is explained in the book. And just as a little note on the bottom, and something that I personally would do as well, is I would visit lockdownludonaut.com for printable sheets. I personally wouldn't want to write in the book myself, but if you want to, you can do so here. You just may also find it a little small, because in the case of certain things like the checklist, there are 56 songs listed, and by necessity, to fit into a paperback of this size, having 56 things on a single paperback page makes them quite small in order to fit them all in. So if you have trouble seeing, if you're getting old like my eyes feel, then maybe what you'd like to do is just go print out a PDF on a much larger sheet of paper. That makes it a little easier to read. You can also flip forward a couple of pages and you can find the same checklist has been printed across 2 sheets sideways, which effectively makes it double the size, and maybe that makes it easier for you to see. There is also the option to have blank checklists. So if you're not a particular fan of these songs or these artists that I've suggested, you can fill in your own if you'd like to. Then you can make customized playlists, and I would love to see those, actually. Feel free to share them with me if you do. And the triple constraint grid is something that becomes a part of the late game when you make the game more varied or more complex. That comes in helpful there. The book will explain what that means. And then there is a broken out section on the checklisted artists and songs. That's those 56 that you see on that page, broken down into more detail in case you want to refer to those. And then there's something called the Can Service Scavenger Hunt. It's just sort of a pun on fan service. And these are Easter eggs that relate to the 80s, to Canada, to Toronto, to Yonge Street, or other similar things. And see if you can find all of these things in the text. Then there's a section called Deeds, which I said are a little bit like trophies or achievements. It's, have you been able to do certain things in the game? Like, for example, complete the campaign using countdown mode, gives you the Vortex deed, that kind of thing. Then there's an About the Author section, and that's it for the book, basically. Okay, well, if you're looking to find more information, where can you go? You can go to lockdownludonaut.com, and you can find all kinds of information about the book itself, about Operation CanCon in general, and this 80s edition in more detail. As well, there's a sampler that allows you to play the first sort of mini game just by itself without getting into the story too deeply, just to see how you like the mechanics of the game at all. And then there are also sheets that you can print out, such as store grids or checklists, whether they have the artists and the songs written on them, or whether there's a blank version that you'd like to print out and fill in yourself. All of that is available on lockdownludonaut.com. You can also find those sheets and the sampler available on Board Game Geek as well. If you search BGG Operation CanCon, you should be able to find the listing there, and in the file section, all of the samplers and the printouts are available there. If you go to Amazon, you can also see a preview of the book. It shows you about the first 10% of the title, I believe, and that will give you a pretty good idea of the minigame and maybe some of the writing and see how you like that. Now, in terms of where to buy, you can find the paperback for this and my other game books on Amazon. The prices will vary by region and exchange rate. Information on other sites and ebooks will be available and posted on Lockdown Ludonaut as soon as it's available. And in terms of the book overall, I'm really quite happy with it. It's exactly what I wanted, and I realize it seems like a very unique thing in terms of being about Canada, the 80s, shopping for music, and a game book. It combines a lot of things that are sort of a subset of a subset of a subset of a subset, and it may be very unique to me, but maybe there are other people that relate to this as well. And if you think that's you, and if you think you're interested, please feel free to check it out, read the sampler, play the mini game, look at the previews, download some sheets, and give it a try. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and share it. Feel free to leave a comment, or consider subscribing if you'd like to be kept up to date on all the information, whether it's about Operation CanCon or any of my other game books. And until then, please take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.